So, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome to our very thoughtful world. As you guys know, I work super hard to bring you all positive, powerful women who are pursuing their dreams. And I do this because I want you to pursue yours. Listen, all of life is hard. So, as they say, choose your heart. You don't have to do it where there's no joy, there's no peace. We found that when you connect to your gifts and your talents, there is peace and joy in the journey. So tonight, my special guest is Miss Cheryl, who, listen, guys, this is the first guest that I've had that we actually met and connected when we lived in the UAE.
Yes.
So I'm excited to talk to you. I'm glad you're here. Tell everybody about what you're doing and about your journey.
Thank you so much for having me tonight, Caneisha. Hello, I am Cheryl Ann Jones Ali. Kids call me Miss Cheryl. And I am, I guess, I always start off with someone who is a lot. And a mom, an educator, a sister, a friend, confidant. Um, but for me, it is someone who wants to impact younger kids, the younger generation. Um, like I said, I do a lot every day. I'm a published author, own my own business, worked in the school districts in the metro Atlanta area from where I'm from, as well as overseas. So it has been something that has given me a lot of joy.
Mhm.
It has been a lot of work, a lot of hard work, but I've met and learned so much along this education journey. I don't think I would trade these days, these years, because a lot of what it is I've done has prepared me for the moment I'm sitting in right now. So for that, yes.
Yeah. Tell me about the village because I know you said you have a tutorial program, correct?
Yes. So the name of the program is the Village Tutorial and Enrichment Program, and there is a story behind that name. Um, when I was in the Middle East, and it was April 7th, and I was taking spring break in the next emirate of Fujairah, and there
Mhm.
was a huge sandstorm the day before, and we got there that night, and it ended with a big thunderstorm. And when I went to sleep that night, I woke up on April 8th, which was my birthday, and I started writing. I took a yellow notepad, and I still have it, and I started writing everything I remembered from my dream. And my son says, "What are you writing? You've been writing all day." And I said, "I saw my next assignment from beginning to end. And I
Mm.
mean, I saw the after school program, I saw the rooms, I saw the activities, I saw the lessons I was supposed to teach. So when I woke up, I said, Father, thank you. I could not have asked for a better gift. So some of my colleagues I had at Al Jimmy KG was sharing with them, you guys, this is what I dreamed, night before my birthday. And I can't believe it. I'm just sharing with them and I'm writing, and I could do nothing but plan and think about this after school program while I was there. So the original name for it was Ujima because I wanted something that was going to represent everyone coming together to work collectively. And I wanted it to be something that children would learn from, learn to become team players, learn sportsmanship, learn how to work out problems and agree to disagree and learn strategy. And I thought that the name of Ujima, working collectively, responsibly in the community, was perfect for that. But then it was my first lesson was listening to people who may not have wanted the best for me, but also was guiding me on what I should do with um, not having the experience. So I let a few people talk me out of that name.
Mm.
That name has now become the name of my mentoring program. So I said, okay, I said, I will think of something that's still going to make sure that it is representative of what the messages I want everyone to understand. Like I want the, community to come in. I want all of this to be something that we do together. I want to share my time with family members. I want to share my time with community members. I want the community to come in and mentor someone. I want parents to come in and see what it is that we're doing, as well as participate with some of the experience that we're having in this program. So while I was trying to think of a new name, I kept looking at how my children were in the place where we lived. They were
Yeah.
so happy. And I would see how they would play with other kids. It didn't matter the color of their skin or what country they were coming from and what state and that they came from, or if that northern twang was different from the southern twang. It was, we're all out here together. And
Mhm.
that place allowed my daughter to be able to go outside and play and feel safe among a whole group of family. And I said, yeah, it's a whole village. And the name of this place where we live was the village.
Yeah.
I said, that's it. That's it. That's what I want to represent, because it's not just me. And I know we always hear, it takes a village to save a child. I said, but I cannot do this alone.
Mhm.
It does take a lot of people in the community to come out and help. And it does take the parents to come out and have their input or volunteer sometimes. Or it takes the younger ones coming in to try to show someone who's even younger than them what it is as being a mentor. But I myself have mentors to guide me on what it is I need to do. So
Mhm.
I felt like that the village would be a perfect name for my program. It would represent everything that I wanted. And from there, I came with the Village Tutorial and Enrichment Program.
I love it.
Yeah. Teaching
Yeah.
is something I do. I want to make sure children are more than proficient in reading and math.
Mhm.
But coming back home, there were a few buzzwords that were going around, and STEM and STEAM was one of them. And I needed to make sure that I caught up as an educator myself to make sure that I was able to give children those opportunities. But with those enrichment pieces and all the tutoring that I do, I have been most fulfilled working with families in low income neighborhoods.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was that originally your plan, or it just kind of found found itself that way?
Um, I didn't know what the plan was. I knew
Okay.
I wanted to go out and make a difference. That's all I had. Again, I have people in my ear saying, "Well, you need to go into the area to for the people that can afford to pay for what you offer," and it is a full, comprehensive tutoring and STEM enriched program. And I was able to do that kind of, sort of, but
Mhm.
it just didn't feel right.
Okay.
It didn't feel right at all. And the more I tried to go into these affluent areas, the sadder I became about it.
Mhm.
So I decided to write my first proposal for City of Atlanta Parks and Recreation. And I had not had that much experience as an after school program. A lot of people might have known me in the community as an educator. My mentor said, you got to establish yourself as a businesswoman, as a founder, as an executive director, as well as this educator. So I'd go out in the community, do some things, but I still did not have a big contract. My first big contract was the City of Atlanta Parks and Recs. We had it up from 2017 to 2020 at the start of COVID. And from
Mhm.
there, we really went out in those recreation centers after school, and we teach, and we, have children write, and I'd have them reading. But I'd also introduce agriculture to them. I'd bring in fresh fruits and vegetables. I may let them do some things with pumpkins, but my lesson was to connect the parents and work with the parents also. So when I was awarded that contract, and we were working with these kids, nothing ached in me. I don't care if I did
Mhm.
2 hours the night before. I felt like I had all the energy in the world.
Wow.
I was happy. I felt relaxed. It, like, those days they were still like some hard work, but I just didn't feel tired. And
Yeah.
that's when I knew this is what I'm supposed to do.
That's what I was meant earlier when I said when you're operating in those gifts and talents,
Hmm.
that is when you find joy. Like all of life can offer us a heart, right?
Hmm.
But when we're doing what we've been called to do,
Hmm.
and I know exactly what you mean, and that's why I do this, because I want women to hear that, one, they can do it,
Hmm.
and how the importance of being in alignment with kind of who you've been called to be.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that doesn't mean that there's no struggle. It just means that there's an ease that comes with it.
it does. And
Yeah.
it has aligned itself, and everything in my path lines up like a perfect golden path to where
Mhm.
I'm supposed to go. The moment I deviate from it or stop or listen to someone in my ear, things just fall apart.
I
Things
get
become hard for me. But the moment I go back and I sit, I get quiet, and I ask for help, I ask for clarity, and I ask for discernment, It may not be the next day the way we're on this, this clock where we want to see things happen in 24 hours. It doesn't always happen like that, but it doesn't take that long before I'm able to see a difference or understand what it is I'm supposed to do next. Someone pops into my life out
Mm,
of the blue that's like, I would love to gift you with this. I would like to share this with you. I'd like to teach you something. So I have to pay attention to all of that because I learned on my way out the door that when those situations, those days, the people, when they come, that's something. That means something and I understand where it's coming from.
yeah. Yeah. And listen, this is a safe place to say God because people,
Mhm.
anybody know when I hang out, if you hang out with Caneisha, I call myself a God girl because when we lived in Beijing, it wasn't always safe to talk about being a Christian. But also that word, because people have been hurt so much by people who were perceived Christians,
Mhm.
you never knew what that meant to people. But
Yeah.
what I found, Cheryl, whenever I would say I was a God girl, I drew people to me, and
Mhm.
then they would let me tell them about my God. And my God, I will always clarify. I'm talking
Mhm.
about it in the Bible, like it ain't no one else. So feel free to acknowledge Him here, because I know when you're saying you're seeking and who's leading you, I know
Mhm.
for you that is God.
It's,
Um,
it- it's a reason for it too, and I'll share with you at the end as we get closer to it. But I think like that was one of the probably one of the biggest lessons for me in the Middle East was um, everyone has their ways of acknowledging, whether we say Him, God, Allah. For me, it is always the Most High,
I love
the owner of Earth,
yes.
the creator of the universe, the Father of all beings. So for me, is it was understanding spirit. I know a lot of people still, I always respected how everyone does everything, but it was the spirit that changed for me over there. Um, so once I follow that more,
Mhm.
then I'm like, okay, when I want to say we got to go and do it the way that we were raised in the, from the South, I'm from Atlanta, we were raised to do it, or to this AME church. And, not to say any of that was wrong,
Correct.
but I tell people, I say, I don't, say this is what's wrong or this is what's right. I said, I just follow my heart, or I'm
Mhm.
just looking at someone else's heart. I can watch you do things the way that you're going to do them all day long, but it's what I hear coming from, your soul
Yeah.
that is reflective of the person I'm standing in front of. And those words have energy, they have power. And if
Mhm.
it makes me feel a certain way, if it's not a good way, then I say, okay, the way that you may put your hands together and the way that you may shout a name is different. But I have to look at how you illuminate, like how our Father actually just guides you. So
Mhm.
I do, but then, like I said, there's some more to it.
I get it. I totally, from what little bit you shared, one of my biggest obstacles that I was concerned with coming back to America was when I lived abroad, I felt like I got to know the love of God.
Hmm. We did.
What you
We,
talk about, that walking by spirit,
hmm
fully dependent on Him.
hmm
Um, before I left America, had what I call a fear-based relationship with God. I was afraid to live, afraid to die. I was afraid to go left, afraid to go right. He gonna
hmm
smite me, like all of that. But when I got away, particularly in the UAE, um, I don't care what anybody say, that place is anointed. It's amazing.
Yes, it is.
Isn't it?
It is. And you can feel his spirit all over.
Oh,
And that Green Bazaar and listening to the Azan
yeah.
is still one of the most beautiful ways to wake up in the morning.
Mm,
It
yeah.
is. So I understood on my first morning there, oh, I'm supposed to feel like this. To hear that every morning, I miss that. So I have it. I just don't know how to connect it to my phone yet.
Oh,
But I
wow.
did find a beautiful one, just like the one we used to hear in LA.
Yeah. I remember when we got off the plane, the children, literally, I walked off the plane, exit out of the airport in Abu Dhabi. First time, feet touched the ground, and I said out my mouth, "My soul belongs here."
Hmm. You can feel it. You
It's-
can feel it. So for all of us to connect and transform somehow, some way, not one person that we met there came back to the States or any other part of the world that they went to the same
no,
at
no,
all.
no.
So it is, we came back motivated, or we, came back with the understanding of the next assignment. We came back with either some type of healing that we needed from some type of trauma that we've had, but we all had a reason for being there. For so many of us to converge in that one place in the matter of 2 years,
Mhm.
and whether some of our seasons were 2 years or 10, our seasons were done when it was time for them to be done.
Yeah.
So whatever time that
Yeah,
was,
when ours was done, I wanted. If it was up to me, we would still be there.
and I did too. I tried to stay. And every time I tried to stay, the doctors were like, no.
Yeah.
But then it was like, we have two friends um, that sat me side by side, and they both since come home.
Right.
It was Rodney and Wayne, sat me on my left and my right, and everybody by now knows about the village. I mean, I'm talking
Yeah.
about this lesson plan book. I'm writing all over the place, and I wrote this book, and the book is being published. I'm just moving. And they sat me down one night and said, "Your time here is up, sis.
Mhm.
God gave you something else to do. You cannot do it here. You gotta go home." I'm like, "I'm not ready to go home. It's Dubai on the weekends. I want to go. It's the brunch. I want to go." And they were like, "No." And they got up and they found me a couple of boxes and they said, "Come on, we'll see you later." And I said, "Got to be some of the biggest supporters I have of this piece I'm doing."
Yeah.
Has been out to my center. Rodney's been out to the center. He has been a one of the chef judges for one of
Mhm.
the kids competitions I'm having with cooking.
Wow.
But when they said to me, "We'll see you later," they meant it.
Yeah, and those connections, same.
Mhm,
Like we might go years without seeing or hearing from people,
mhm.
but I remember when I some point came. I think came from China. Went to Detroit. Where did we go? I went to the Essence Festival, wherever
Mhm.
that St. Louis, wherever, right? Wherever the Essence Festival is. I'm
New
horrible.
Orleans.
New Orleans.
Mhm.
And Andre, I had to get there a whole day before he got there. And D, I don't know if you remember D.
I do. I do.
Dre reached right out to D and said, "Listen, my wife is going to be in New Orleans." He says, "Don't worry, I got her."
And still,
Isn't it?
everyone to this day,
Ah,
and
and
that's so comforting.
and people don't understand. Like literally living abroad, we found the love and the support and that belonging that we did not have here.
Mhm.
And even coming back, do you know, Cheryl? A lot of times I said to Dre, it feels like nothing changed for us. Like now China was isolating, but I got back home and I feel isolated sometimes because I thought being back, I would, the family.
None of
And
that.
so when my husband talks about moving again, I'm like, okay, because I did not come back home to the village I hope I would come back home to.
I don't think a lot of us did, but I think after a while, what we had to admit and understand to move forward was there's something else for us to do.
Yeah.
When we understand that, because my prayer has been never to lose that feeling that
Mhm.
we had overseas. I didn't want to lose that peace. I didn't want to lose that joy. But initially, upon returning, I did not. I was good to go.
Yeah.
But I did let life,
Mhm.
and I forgot about keeping that, promise to myself of, "You're not gonna look like that." Like we came home for a visit, and everyone looked stressed, and
Mhm.
this gray about their skin, and they're looking at us like, "Where you living?" Like I said, "No, I'm from Grady, down the street." But I said I did not want to look like that, and I did not keep true to that. I
Mhm.
did not. Um, so then at the next lesson after I started everything, when I'm doing after school, or when I'm spending my own money
Mhm.
as an educator all the time, but
Yeah.
starting a business, I still worked in the school district so that I could use my paychecks to either pay someone to help me or buy some supplies or pay for my certificates. I'm not getting any income or any money from this program yet. So I understood then that, okay, you have something else to do. And those moments when I'm in there working with those kids, and I'm really like, I get absorbed in what is this going on with them. Like, they could come up with some slime, and come up with these opportunities, experiences. And I'm working in this low income neighborhood. These little kids, some of them bad as I don't know what. But I turned around and was like, sit right here and learn how to make this video game and catching on. Just
Wow.
like that. And it was, you don't have access. You don't have opportunity. And I mean, every time I'm doing it, feel absolutely no pain. Nothing.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I know we understand what it was that we felt. And I know, we know what it is that we need to do. We just have to be cognizant of going back and making sure we say, this is what we're going to feel with this new experience. And this, because like you said before, like this life is a journey. Like, we don't, I think that was a great way to say that. Like, we feel like we need to get to the end, like we've made it.
Very
And
true.
once we get to that, whatever the top of that pyramid that we're trying to get to, and we're like climb these steps to get there, it's going to be it. But it's not it.
There is no it.
That's not it. I mean, we got to keep going from there. And if this pyramid is here, then I'm sure there's another, probably a little bit bigger, that we got to get to. But that is the one I will hold on with me for today. That is, this journey does not stop. So for that, we just have to just go back and remind ourselves.
Yeah.
When I was in the Middle East, I think we would, I don't know if you remember that afternoon, we go, we got our nails done and then our toes done. It was you introduced me to that something different. Like, you're like, let's get this yellow, get something bold, let's get something bright. And
Yeah.
do that. I said, I do it today. And it was cute. How we would go to yoga, or
Mm.
I think for me, taking golf.
Mm.
I don't remember if you remember the equestrian club, how we go over, just
I remember that.
just sit, just to have lunch. We have to remember to do those things. We still worked, but the priorities, that place taught us what was most important. Um, and for me, I think my first day at my new school, it was, we want you to know, and I'll never forget my uncle teacher, Arabic teacher, was like, we believe in God, and you know this. We believe in Jesus. You may not know this, but we do. Um, we feel like Americans have a misconception of why we don't like people, and it's not that we don't like other people. We just don't like they kill the Messiah,
Mm.
and that's why we're upset with them, because they took him from us.
Wow.
But even though, and she was like, but we know he had something to fulfill. And she spit it out the moment I get in there. And I'm like, well, where do I put my purse? I just walked in the door. But
Right.
that's how she approached me. And I had to really start to pay attention to, what it was that she was doing. And after that, it was, we go in on Easter Sunday, because we work Sunday through
That's right.
Thursday. And they were like, what do you mean there's a holiday for you that is religious? And you actually came in here anyway? They told us we were wrong for that. We're
Mm.
supposed to go home and give God praises first. And the day was his. And they told us, hurry, grab your bag and go,
Mm.
because you guys are wrong. That I will always take. And then it was family, just shutting down every afternoon from 1 to 5 to go have lunch with your family, or talk with your kids for the day, and hug on people who you love. That, even though we don't have that here,
Mm.
as far as shutting it down for the sake of losing a few dollars,
Right.
um, they told me that that was very important. So then after a while, I did have some of them say, Miss, God first, always God, family. But it's money, the money, it come, it goes. It's okay. The work is always work. But they were like, those first two, we
Mhm.
don't take any of that for granted. And they were like, you have to do it in order. The prayers in school in the mornings, I know we can't do those. But I do appreciate any of the schools I've been in lately that will tell anyone, we'll take this moment of silence.
Yeah.
I feel like that our society here doesn't have a way to say you can, honor, God, Him, however you want to. Um, but I know after school, I just, give my students eucalyptus and lavender. We sit with some
Mhm.
quiet music, and giving that to kids in the hood. They're looking at me like, what is this stuff?
Right.
But after a while, it was, excuse me, Miss Cheryl, you laid on my lavender. You need to come up.
Right.
So it was a way that I could just, just keep reaching one, like, and maybe that next one would take two. But those lessons that we got most certainly is impacting what it is I do now.
Yeah.
But I just have to make sure I am reminding myself of that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I know you and I can go on and on about that, bringing that heart back. And I think, and I appreciate you for sharing that because I think Andre and I have forgotten to.
Mhm.
Because China is the energy was different. It
Yeah.
was there was no worshiping God. There was no, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That kind of country,
Mhm.
which was very challenging for me. Um, so I appreciate you sharing that because I'm gonna like Dre, we can start reincorporating, even though we're here, because
Yeah.
America has been quite the challenge because we understand the quality of life.
Yes.
And that's what being abroad does. And now we did still have that in Beijing, the
Mhm.
quality of life. At the end of the day, school is finished at the kids leave at 4. Mr. Berry, why are you still here? The kids are gone.
Yes.
You go. You do
Yes.
not stay and you don't work, you don't stay on this campus 6, 7 o'clock at night. What are you doing? Like,
No.
and they they threw parties, like these people, my kids saw teachers party, they're like, this is so and so.
Because
But
people.
because they just enjoy life.
Yeah.
Like you said, work is work. We do this from this time to this time, and it's over. You go and you
We're
enjoy life.
done. We're done.
And so that's the stuff that's been challenging for being back because um, going into jobs and they expect you to give them everything from sun up to sundown.
Until your body aches, and that is not his way.
And America has made it so that we think there are people who think this is what I have to do, and I'm like, no, we've been conditioned.
Yeah.
And so now you come across as something's wrong with you if you say no to that. But you should say no to those things.
And be okay with it. We don't, as our generation, we don't know how to say no.
Yeah.
We need to be unapologetic about how we say it.
Hmm.
That has been a lesson for me. I'm still not the best at saying no. I may say,
Yeah.
and until somebody's like, "Do you mean no?" But yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. But yes, so we do. We just have to keep up with it.
Absolutely. Well, I
Mhm.
want to end this with asking the question I always ask. What is the book that you've either read or the book you're currently reading that has just shift things for you or really, it's that thing you think about when you're like, wow, that one changed my life or changed the way I think about life or something like that.
I think it's been a few of them. There was a Young Advance book. There was one that was called "Yesterday I Cried."
Mm,
I think in that book, it was one thing that she said that years later it made sense. And she said as she was starting to study under the priestess in Nigeria, they told her to read the Bible, the Quran, and the book, the Teachings of Buddha. And I was like, oh, okay. Didn't understand it when I read it.
yeah.
Moved to the Middle East, met some people, got some plans, had some dreams, put it in action. I decided to download on my Kindle The Alchemist. And
Mm, yeah.
When God Whispers Loudly, I read The Alchemist first. And as I'm reading it, and everything we had seen in the Middle East and the camel rides in the desert and the conversations we've had with each other and the locals and the history of the place and what we knew about ours, it started to make sense. I'm
Mm,
like, oh, okay, I get it, I get it. But then the book, When God Whispers Loudly, I read right behind it. It takes one day, maybe two, to read this book. And it dawned on me after that, all these years, I'm asking God, Father, just tell me something. Then I go to sleep and I get some pieces of it. And I wake up like I didn't ask for a puzzle down. You need to break this one down for me. I need to know what you want me to do.
mm,
But it was me not paying attention to his whispers because after a while it was Girl, he can't reach down here and shake your head and be like, this is what I want you to do. He sends angels the entire time. And it may be something that blows past me, or I may get these emails, I may get stuck in this traffic and something has blocked me from going down this street. And then these people come up to me randomly and say these things, or, children who sometimes they get those whispers and they start blurting stuff out and you're like, what did you just say? And it was just so much of that. And as I pay attention to what it is I'm supposed to do after school, I have so many whispers come. Um, and when I decide, I feel like I'm not going to pay attention to that one. Do I regret it? And he said, because I told you to do something and you need to trust me. Sometimes I feel like I got to go do this on my own. No, it's not meant for me to do. He didn't ask me to help him do anything. He created the universe. You need me for. But when he says, you asked me for help, I'm sending you this path. I'm sending you these people, these experiences, these journeys, these whispers. Any thought in my head is coming directly from God. And he said, in order for you to keep walking on this path that I set for you, you need to listen to what I'm trying to tell you. And whether it be an ancestor who's watching over me, or an angel that had been assigned to me before when I didn't realize who they were, those two books together, I suggest anyone read The Alchemist and When God Whispers Loudly, just like that. You will understand so much.
Yeah.
The journey is not always within a year, so we're going to see this change. It takes a while. This man had to go years in his desert. He had to work, and people weren't always the kindest to him. He lost everything so many times and had to go back and get it. But at the end, he found what he was looking for. Had he? Because the journey still continued after that.
Right.
But then in the meantime, those whispers, the events, the people, and the circumstances, there are people who come into our life that are meant to take us to the next step. We need to make sure we ask for discernment of those who don't take us there. So that's the time that we feel like we waste. That's when we feel like, oh, okay, I regret the time I spent with you, regret this experience. And maybe not, but we need to pay closer attention to it. So it is most certainly The Alchemist, but When God Whispers Loudly.
I can't wait. I can't wait to get it. And I often ask that question because I'm always looking for the next book to read. And I want to, I know if it's been good to someone, it's probably going to be good to me. And so that would definitely be my next book. I audio listen to books because I'm such a slow reader. I tend to fall asleep. I'm like, I don't know what that is about. But all of my podcasts, I'm in the car and I'm moving around my kitchen and I'm listening and I can capture what they're talking about. Like some people say, oh, my mind goes, no, I get into the story. It's a good story. So I'm looking very forward to that. I want to say thank you so much for coming on. Thank you
for having me. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.